Hi, I'm Melissa Wallace.
And I'm Huna Khan, and we will be presenting the institutional demo for the Cornell University for the Blacklight Virtual Summit. Melissa will be covering a variety of topics and work that we've done at Cornell over the past year that relates to our Blacklight and Spotlight installations. And I will be talking a little bit about some of the work we've done as part of the Linked Data for Production Closing the Loop grant.
Okay, so in the last year, we've been really busy with our library catalog.
Very busy.
A lot of this work has been around our FOLIO implementation, which went live in July of this year. We changed our data input from Voyager to FOLIO, and with that work, we had to do a few updates to our My Account and request gems. We did have sort of a small paradigm shift in the way that we manage our data now that we're using FOLIO. FOLIO is much more sensitive to heavy querying than Voyager. So we built a cache of inventory data from FOLIO, and index changes are managed by maintaining that cache. We did have a pretty complex rollout for our July 1st launch that involved a lot of different departments in the library to communicate to our end users that certain services were not going to be available prior to the launch. Most of that was around messaging and updates and pausing our circulation services. But for the most part, I'd say the implementation was largely successful. We did hit our July 1st launch date. We did have a few minor bugs post-launch, but these were not unexpected. And many of them had to do with requests and requesting items from different libraries. Next slide. In addition to our FOLIO work, we've been making a lot of changes in our request system over the past year due to going from remote and then hybrid and in-person learning and our campus reactivation this fall. Much of that was around messaging within our availability system and request system. Lots of changes to things like pickup locations and adding a contactless pickup service. We've also been doing ongoing accessibility work. We use SiteImprove to check our websites for accessibility, and they launched a new tool called NextGen, and that ended up creating a bunch of new issues for me to have to fix. And we've also implemented our Discogs integration. So I'm just going to show a slide of a screenshot. And this is just a snippet of a sound recording item. Down at the bottom of our record, we have a line that says some information for this item comes from the Discogs database. And we've got this little handy link that can highlight the fields that come from Discogs in case a end user is interested in knowing. So in this case, we're showing the additional field that comes from Discogs. Next slide. We've also been doing quite a bit of work on our Spotlight implementation. Next. A lot of that work has been around an upgrade to 3.0, which we're almost done with. We're hoping that this upgrade is going to address some accessibility issues that we've had with the previous version. We've also been working on a local roadmap for stakeholder requests, and I've just listed a couple of examples of those requests. For one thing, we'd like to think about redesigning the homepage because we've kind of got dozens of exhibits now and it's getting a bit cluttered. There's also been requests to connect to external repositories such as our digital collections portal or art store or institutional repository. And there's also a request for compound object support for a single item. So in some cases, we have images of the front, back, or side of an item, and we'd like to be able to display those for one record.
Thank you, Melissa. I'll be talking about the discovery area of the Linked Data for Production Closing the Loop, or LD4P3 grant, funded by the Andrew W. Mellon Foundation. In the discovery portion of this grant, we're continuing to experiment with the generation of prototypes that can demonstrate the use of linked data in discovery. We're also reviewing how we can use these features in our production catalog systems. An example of work that began as an experimental prototype and then actually now lives in our production catalog is the Discogs work, which we started experimenting with in LD4P True, which is the previous grant. And then we had multiple conversations with music librarians, special thanks to Tracy Snyder, and user representatives, and our discovery and access team, which is responsible for implementing the catalog, to better understand how we could take this work and incorporate it into our production catalog system. As Melissa has already shown you, we've incorporated this work and is now lives in the Cornell catalog. As part of our continued experiments, we're looking at how we can bring in additional information from DBpedia and Wikidata and other sources into our browse pages for authors and subjects. So here's an example of additional contextual information being brought in for authors, including a publication timeline from Wikidata and influence relationships. This example shows information being brought in from Period O, Wikidata, and DBpedia to provide contextual information around a subject, including temporal and geographic information. Special thanks to our LD4P3 discovery collaborators, including people from other institutions like Stanford and Iowa, and our directors, to our library catalog team, and to our Spotlight team. If you have further questions, please feel free to contact us. Thank you.